We're very excited to have back to the Our Bold Voices stage, Stacey Rice.
Hi everybody, thank you very much. So good to see so many familiar faces out there. I was an 11-year-old boy when Stonewall happened. Yep, an 11-year-old boy, tucked away in the mountains of North Carolina, desperately trying to figure out why I felt like a girl inside. It had only been a year before I actually found someone else who was like me. My family was on a cross-country trip, and we stopped at a little hotel in Oklahoma. There was a news program that came on the TV, and the headline said, "Ex-GI becomes blonde bombshell." Yeah, a lot of shaking the head. Yeah, it was Christine Jorgensen, who at that time was the most famous and well-known person in the U.S. who'd had a sex change operation, that they called it at that time. And then the next thing that she said actually stopped me in my tracks, or maybe made me stop breathing. She said that when she was a little boy, she'd always felt like a little girl. You mean there was someone else out there like me? I couldn't hardly believe it, because I really felt like I was the only one in the world. So what do you do with that information at 10 years old in 1968? Well, if you were like me, you just held it in. You know, I don't know the reason why I couldn't find the words, or maybe even the courage to tell my parents what I was dealing with. There was just no way to do that I could see, so I held it in. I don't know. I wish I did know. But the one thing I do know from that time period is that I became a great friend with anxiety, deep anxiety. Let me give you some examples. Lovely examples, like there were times that I could feel that I was leaving my body, and which, as you can imagine, added a whole nother level of anxiety to what you're going through. And I can always hope that I would find my way back in, and I always did, which is great. Before school, I would get so anxious that I actually would get physically sick and throw up. And they would magically get better when I knew that I didn't have to go to school that day because I was sick. And that continued through primary school, through elementary school, and through high school. And I wonder even today kind of how I made it through all that without just completely falling apart. But I did. Soon after, as I got a little bit further on, I got into college, and I was a freshman in college. And I was in the library one day, and it dawned on me that maybe there was a book somewhere in this building that would tell me something about who I was. So I timidly made my way over to the card catalog. I just knew that everybody's eyes in the whole place was on me because I was going to look up the word sex change. Not sure why I thought all those folks were clairvoyant, but so I found the card catalog, if you can remember those, the good old card catalog. I found the drawer that had the S's, and I started leafing through it, and I found a book on gender. And one of the topics was sex change. And I thought, and it was right up there on the second floor of this library. And I thought, oh dear God. So I slowly closed the drawer and made my way over to the stairs. And as I was walking up, I deeply knew that something pretty important was getting ready to happen to my life and in my life. So I found the shelf where this book was located. As I went to grab the book, I looked around again because, you know, I was on the sex change shelf. To make sure that nobody saw that. I got the book, pulled it down, and then I went and found the most remote corner of that library, away from everybody else, that I could actually dig into that book and see what I could find. So I did find that corner, and as I leafed through and started reading, I found the word transsexual. Transsexual, a person who hormonally or surgically alters their body to align with their gender identity. And so finally, my life, my very tortured life at times, actually had a definition. It wasn't something that I made up. all those years ago. There was actually a psychological explanation for who I was. It was truth. It was me. So I kept digging in that library for every time in between classes. I would go there and keep digging, trying to find something else about my journey and about my life. And I did find a lot of things, which was lovely. But the one thing that I did find one word there, and it was Stonewall. I found an article from around the late 1969 that told about the Stonewall riots and about the homosexuals who were rioting there. I can remember thinking that, I don't know if I didn't think that those were my people. I mean, they were homosexual, I was transsexual, so I didn't think we really had anything in common. But it was many, many years later that I found out actually that Stonewall had a lot to do with being transgender, because there were trans women on the front line of those riots at Stonewall. Trans women of color like Sylvia Rivera, like Marsha P. Johnson, who actually went on to form right after Stonewall the first transgender advocacy group in the United States called STAR. Street Transvestites Action Revolutionaries. Love that name. It's so brilliant. So here we are. Here I am, 50 years after Stonewall, really due in part to those really strong and those courageous and really badass trans women that were there at Stonewall. I can be out and proud as a trans woman today because of those women. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. Thank you.